Good morning, boys and girls. We are on chapter 4 of Front Desk, where we left off last. I think they're starting to get a clue that Mr. Yao, who's the owner of the motel, might not be the nicest guy. They got some clues from some current occupants of the motel. So let's see what that means exactly. All right, chapter 4. Here we go. Hank's words thrashed around inside me. Mr. Yao was strict, sure, maybe even a little dramatic, but coal for a heart? Hank couldn't possibly be right. This was the man who trusted us with his motel, was letting us live here for free, and was paying us $150 a day. The first thing the next day, I intended on setting Hank straight. But when morning came, my mother had other plans. "Let's go see your new school today," she announced. I groaned. Another grade, another year as the new girl. When you've moved as much as I have, checking out schools is like checking out shoe polish. So far, I'd gone to 4 different schools for 5 different grades. Dale Elementary School was about 5 blocks east from the motel and a bit bigger than my old school. It was late August, so classes didn't start for a couple days. As my mom and I walked across the big empty parking lot, I wondered what kind of kids were there. Nice kids, I hoped. We pushed open the door to the office, and the receptionist, a blonde lady with big curls that bounced as she moved her head, looked very surprised to see us. "Can I help you?" she asked. "Hi, I want to sign my daughter up for school. We just moved here," my mom said. The receptionist looked me up and down. I wriggled in my tattered pants and big old t shirt from Goodwill. "I see," she said. She pushed a button on her desk phone and said, "Principal Evans, we have a new student here to see you." Hmm. Principal Evans wore a blazer even though it was 90 degrees outside. She looked like what my mother calls a powerful white lady. She insisted on taking us on a tour of the school, even though my mom said we didn't need a tour. I could tell she was anxious to get back to the motel. "It'll only take 10 minutes," Principal Evans said, leading us toward the gymnasium in her clickety clackety black pumps. "So, Mia, tell me about yourself." I opened my mouth, but before I could say anything, my mom blurted out, "She just moved here from China." Ugh, why does she always have to tell people that? It wasn't even true. We'd been here for 2 years already. Of course, as soon as my mother said the words, Principal Evans started talking to me like I was a turkey. "Really? Wow. How do you like this country?" She asked. "I really like it," I quickly answered. Principal Evans put her hand to her chest and exhaled in relief. "Oh, you know English." "Oh, that's great. I have to admit, we don't get too many Chinese kids here. There's only one other Chinese kid in 5th grade." She smiled at me and added, "I'm sure he'll be thrilled you're here." On the way home, my mom and I played our usual game, looking at big American houses and trying to figure out who lived inside. "Family with 2 girls," my mom said, pointing to the pink curtains upstairs. "And a cat," I said. There was a little door in the front door. I turned to my mom. "Hey, why'd you have to tell the principal I just got here from China?" "So she'd cut you some slack, you know." I stopped peering into the houses and peered into my mom. "What do you mean?" "You heard what she said. There are only 2 Chinese kids in your grade." "So?" "So it probably means that most of the other kids are white." "So?" "So they'll be way better than you in English," my mom said matter of factly. I looked at the ground. "Not necessarily," I said. "I might not speak native English like Jason, but my English was a lot better than when I first came, I think. Plus, I liked English. I liked how you could say a train of thought or a blanket of snow, which you couldn't in Chinese. But it didn't matter how much I liked English. My mom had already decided. "Necessarily," she said. All right, why don't we try chapter 5 too? Okay. We were surprised to find the maid cart right where we left it when we got back. It had not moved an inch. In that time that we were gone, my dad had only managed to clean 2 rooms. I don't know how I'm going to get through all these rooms, he said, wiping the sweat brow with the back of his hand. I'll help you, I offered, rolling up my sleeves. In China, I sometimes help my grandmothers scrub the kitchen floor. No, my mom said, I don't want you near that stuff. She pointed at the maid cart filled with various colorful bottles of cleaning solutions. Then I'll man the front desk, I said. I'll call you if I need anything. I ran out the room and down the stairs before she could say no. I've got this, I told myself on the way to the front office. This was not going to be like the restaurant. This time I was not going to fail. All I had to do was hand out keys and take the cash. How hard could that be? I got into position, climbing into the front desk stool and crossing my hands on the desk. It did not take long before the customers started coming. Unfortunately, when they saw me, the first thing they did was ask to speak to the manager. So then I had to get my mom. Up and down the stairs I ran. Every time she had to stop what she was doing to run down the stairs with me into the front office just to hand the customer the key and take the money. By the fifth time, I thought, enough. I made a little sign and put it on the front desk. It read, Mia Tang, manager. The next time a customer came in and asked to see the manager, I pointed to the sign and I stared really hard at him. In science class at my last school, I learned that if you want a mammal to do something, you should stare at it. That's because mammals are social creatures and we're really into hierarchy. At the top, you have your alpha, the leader, and then your betas and your omegas. The difference between the alpha and the beta is the alpha wins every staring contest. So I stared and stared until my eyes went blurry and I was starting to see double. And even then, I've refused to blink. Finally, the customer broke down and said, okay, fine. I just need a room for the night. Yes, it worked. That'll be $20 plus tax, I told him. I watched as he dug into his pocket, pulled out a 20 and a 5, and slid the bills across the desk. I gave him back his change and his key. The whole time, I couldn't believe it was really happening. I was just a kid, but I asked an adult to hand me money, and he actually did it. I repeated my strategy with everyone else who walked through the door that day. Point, stare, point, stare, point, stare. Eventually, I didn't even need to stare. People just went ahead and gave me the money. I was so happy. I hopped off the stool, opened up the vending machine, and treated myself to a cream soda. Got one for Hank, too, and went to find him. Unfortunately, he wasn't home. Fred, one of the other weeklies, said he was working and he wouldn't be home until late. When I got back to the front desk, the phone was ringing. The Calavista had an old-fashioned orange phone with a ton of more buttons than a usual one. I didn't know what the extra buttons did, and for a second I fantasized that if we pushed the wrong button, the motel would start flying. Hello, I asked, picking up the receiver. Is this the front desk? A voice asked. I looked at the glowing light and saw that the call was coming from room 6, which I had just rented out to Mr. Stein. I cleared my voice. Mr. Stein, how can I help you? I asked, putting on my best customer service voice. I need a wake-up call tomorrow at 5 a.m., Mr. Stein said. Wake-up call, 5 a.m., I repeated. You got it. Don't forget. I have to leave for a very important meeting. I promised I wouldn't and hung up. For the next half hour, I studied the complicated phone system. There was a manual in the drawer, but it was one of those manuals that was impossible to read. It was like a manual they wrote for the walkie-talkies my mom used to make in the factory in China. Her walkie-talkies were great, but when they shipped them to America, nobody could figure out how they worked because the manuals were full of typos and mistakes. I chuckled and wondered if the Calavista phone system was also made in China, like me. Made me feel strangely close to it. All right, old friend, I said to the phone system, let's do this. I punched in the code for the wake-up call and entered the room number and time. To my amazement, the phone system made a beep. It worked. Pride swelled inside as I drifted to sleep that night. It was a glorious first day I'd rented out 12 rooms, 7 of which I'd done all by myself. Not only that, I'd gotten the phone system to work. I didn't need to worry about getting up early to wake up Mr. Stein. I could sleep easy knowing the awesome phone system would do it for me. Then the morning came. Make your predictions. Oh boy. Oh boy. Let's see what chapter 5 brings us. We will find out tomorrow. All right. Have a great day.